honors, that would be great.
I just hit record.
Audience, please, if you can, if you're comfortable, put your cameras on for a little interaction, only if you're comfortable. But I would like everyone who is not speaking to go ahead and mute your microphone. And then I'd like to.
And then there's also, again, what Mizzou off. Sorry.
There you go. And then again, I would like to introduce and welcome everybody. So what we have here is teacher education recruitment strategies. Yay! Super important in this time right now. And our presenters are Laura King, who's an assistant professor here at Northwest. Joseph Hoy, where's Joseph? There he is. Hi, Joseph. He's a professor here at Northwest. Sarah Taylor, another professor at Northwest, assistant currently, but hopefully will get tenured very soon. And then Dan Gordon, who's going to I think, start us off, professor here at Northwest. So thank you all for attending. And we'll go ahead and have our presenters start. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And if I need to, I'll interrupt if we need to ask questions, or one of the presenters can address questions as they come. Okay. So Dan, take it away.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this. So yeah, this slide here, they'd asked us to add, I think Cindy's already talked about this a little bit. So our theme is, as of course, because that's why you're here, I'll put this over here. So Cindy, you're able to see my slideshow? Okay, good. Okay, and real briefly, Laura, do you want to give a sentence as to what your main role at Northwest is?
Sure. I'm an assistant professor for early childhood, and I was also formerly a teacher and a principal for our laboratory school here.
Thank you. And I'm an associate professor. I heavily work in the online school leadership world, but I also will work with alternative certification, dual credit, and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got in this conversation with the dual credit angle. Sarah, go ahead.
So I was initially hired primarily for special education. So I teach a lot of special education at the graduate level, a little at the undergraduate level for all of our majors. I also am the coordinator for our educational diagnostician programs that lead to school psych examiner certification. And then because I have a child who is attending the lab school, I have had the privilege of spending time in our lab school with our teachers and getting to know them and supporting them in any way they need.
Joseph?
Yeah, Joseph Hoy, and I am not in our school education. I'm in our English department, language, literature, and writing department, and I coordinate our English Ed program. So I, my first job is working with all of our future candidates who are going to be middle school and high school English teachers.
Thank you. So we always include, when we do a presentation, we like to include this picture here. And Laura will talk about this, but a big recruiting concept that we use is Horace Mann Lab School. And heaven knows how old that picture is, but we like looking at it. That's just kind of a problem. I'm going to do an audible here, guys. I was going to allow everybody in this Zoom to introduce themselves, because I didn't know if we'd have 2 or 3 people, but I think we have too many to try to do that. So I'm going to make it audible, colleagues, and move on here. So really what we want to do here, I hope you realize we are not doing this presentation because we want to toot our own horns or anything like that. We wanted to start with a conversation about what we do at Northwest to try to encourage students to choose our college, our university, and then to hear from you, and then have just a conversation as it flows at the end here. So we don't think at all that we have the answers, and you may hear that you're doing a lot of things that are very similar to what we're doing. That's to be expected. So I'll flow on here. Laura, you want to talk, please?
Yes. So our education program is centered in Brown Hall, and we're fortunate enough to be able to have our lab school and our education courses in the same building. So we have our education courses on the second floor, and all of our professor offices are there. And then downstairs on our first floor, and part of our basement is our Horace Mann Lab School and Lead Center. So one of the things that we do to get everybody involved in recruiting and to make those personal connections with our students is to meet up with students. And so that takes a little bit of planning. Each of our members, faculty members, sign up for 16 times throughout the year where they would be willing to give a tour to a prospective student. And so once we sign up for those times, our office manager sends us a tentative calendar invite. And then when students take those slots, we get confirmed to let us know that we will have somebody there for the tour. And then they have some pre-packed folders with information that we can just grab and then be able to be on our way with the students. So again, just trying to make those personal connections and trying to give our students a very close-up view of what we do. So that usually begins on the second floor by showing them around the offices and the classrooms that are upstairs, stepping into a class while it's in session. Everybody's on board, and professors will try to connect with those students when they come in and say hello and welcome and what they're teaching. And, even let them ask some questions and things before we take them downstairs to go see Horace Mann. Horace Mann is our pre-K through sixth grade, which has been in place since 1905 or 1906. Northwest was founded in 1905. So Horace Mann has been around for a long time and has always been a big part of what we do, and we take great pride in that. So we enjoy taking our candidates through the classrooms and allowing them to step in, talk to the faculty down there. We make sure that the moms and dads that come with their prospective student, that we let them know that your student is going to get started right away with early experiences in the classroom as freshmen. And it really helps to solidify whether or not this is what they want to do in life. So we kind of push it as a money saver for mom and dad with your student is going to know for sure whether or not they want to be a teacher just by being in the classrooms. And then we also try to make sure that those prospective students get a chance to kind of interact with the kids a little bit and see what the classrooms look like and kind of get them excited about those opportunities. We also send students out to area schools as well. So they do things beyond Horace Mann, but these are where they get their start, and then some of their later hands-on field experiences. So once they get started in that initial programming, we have a developmental foundations class that everybody takes, where they get to come in and do some observation and connecting with our children and our teachers. And then once they start getting into their coursework where they're choosing their path of where they're going to go, then they start segregating off into those various courses. So for our students that are interested in early childhood, we're very fortunate to have the Lead Center, which is our preschool-based program that allows them to see a play-based learning environment. We also promote the idea that we hire a lot of students to work in our Lead Center and Horace Mann. So there's opportunities where students can work right there on campus and getting more time in the classrooms. And then we're also fortunate enough to have a new toddler center that allows our students to work with children under 3 years old. Most of our early childhood degrees are birth through 3rd grade. Sometimes it's difficult to find those opportunities with those children that are younger than preschool. So this is a good opportunity for them. And this really helps with students who maybe want to look at alternative careers. Some might want to be teachers, but there might be people interested in doing some sort of special services or childcare directors. So they get to see a wide variety of things that they could try, and they get that very hands-on experience. And then the last thing that we are sure to point out, we're very fortunate to have 3 Nature Explorer classrooms, and we're able to talk to the prospective student about the ways that we use those playgrounds, and the ways that we use them for learning as well as for play. And so it allows them another view in teaching.
So
Go ahead, Sarah.
we were kind of interested to hear from our students, especially our freshman and sophomore students, about what made Northwest the school they chose. And so we actually have conducted a short survey with all of our freshmen and then all of our sophomores each year for the last 4 years. So obviously COVID impacted some of that, but time and time again, in sort of the open-ended question that we give them, we are finding that they really appreciate that early hands-on experience. So we recognize that not every university has a lab school, nor do they have the funding to add a lab school, but building an early connection with a local school to allow your students to come in and see different grade levels, different types of contents early on. And I mean, we take freshmen first semester and they do an observation. We do end up with some students who, after those observations, realize they have a passion in a different area. And because of the way our courses are set up, all education majors take the same education courses for their first 3 semesters. So we are then able to give our students the opportunity to do these observations in those first 3 semesters, to do these experiences. And then by semester 4, when they start to specialize, they've already spent a number of hours in these environments. And we really try to help build those bridges and help things to feel a bit more like home, right? So we do have some different advising structures and things, but having those connections to a school helps them to feel more comfortable having, they can pop in and talk to faculty, they can do these different things, different types of relationships. And so we have found that to be really, really important. But I will say, yeah, the number one thing that we hear from students has to do with those early field experiences.
As I mentioned earlier, thank you, Sarah. As I mentioned earlier, a role that Dr. Miss Ingraham, one of our colleagues that I work with, is our bill credit and working with teachers and high school kids. A version of that, and because of that, we also help with our admissions office with what I have here, teaching academy visits. Now, different high schools use different terms for cadet teaching, that kind of stuff, and they're not all involved in our dual credit programs. But we will collaborate with our admissions office when they want to bring a van load or a bus load of high school potential teacher ed kids to campus, and we try to make a special day for them. The admissions folks like to show them all around campus and get them T-shirts and treat them to lunch, and like they do, have the tour guides walking backwards, talking about the school and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty standard. But then we get to put our own spin on it. We have special time when they come to Horace Mann Leet, and that's where I'll take over, or another colleague will take over, and like Laura was talking about. We will walk them into classrooms, down Horseman, let them get a more specific tour of Horseman Elite, and trying to make their eyes light up with what we do. And then we also foster a panel of college kids, teacher ed college kids, to sit and talk with these high school kids that are visiting, and the high school kids ask questions. Sometimes it's about becoming a teacher. Sometimes it's just about life at Northwest. And so we find those really, really helpful and we just have a couple students that just sit at the front of the room and just sit down with 15, 20 high school kids or something. We might put some questions together, but most of the time that's not necessary. We find the teacher ed kids are comfortable talking. And then another version of it, and I know most of you probably have versions of dual credit, and this version here is very focused, that they are the exact same, and probably you do too. It's the exact same course numbers that students will take when they get to campus as a freshman. They can take those same courses as a high school student, and up to 9 hours are available to take. And again, the same course numbers. And then again, we just next week, I will be helping facilitate a tour of one of our dual credit instructors, bringing her kids to campus and do the same stuff. Just trying to make them feel encouraged to attend. I always talk, and you all probably do too, talk in the affirmative. I say, when you come to Northwest, I say, our goal is to make you all Bearcats. That's just bluntly as it is. And I'm sure you all use the same language. So I'll slide here. Joseph, go ahead.
There we go. Yeah, before I jump into my little spiel, I'll follow up on the chat just a minute. And just kind of follow up on what we were talking about those when high school students come to visit. So I do get a few more of those. Mine's a little different though, because mine are all middle school, secondary. So I don't walk them over to Horace Mann because that's less relevant to them. However, I will say, I mean, having Horace Mann on campus, having a school on campus, that, you know, having the little kids in the sound of the playground, I think makes us appealing as a teacher preparation institution, even to secondary. But so I get them. So it's not, you know, it's not much more, at least what I do, than I would do during office hours to have students drop in. So I've got one coming, for example, at 11:30. Our admissions. So mine work just slightly differently because they go through my department as opposed to the School of Ed. They go through our English department. So I got an email last week saying we've got, you know, a couple of high school students visiting. Can you take them at this time? And me and I co-coordinate with another professor, and we kind of split those up. And mine is coming at 11:30 this week, and it just sort of on Friday, and it just sort of fits in. It's not really that different than just having a student drop in for 20 minutes, 30 minutes during office hours. And you just sit and talk. And my goal of that talk is really just to reassure them, when you get to campus, you already know me. And I'm here, my door is open. I want to talk to you. I want to support you in every way. You're going to feel at home here. And that's kind of the goal of the conversation with them and their parents. So, yeah. So I my job on this last slide, and I was just going to talk briefly about what we're doing with our DESE Dewey grants. And I'm really curious too. I'm a little bit selfish. I'm hoping, I'm curious if anyone else in the audience, because once I'm done talking, we're gonna break into a little bit of a conversation is the hope, and hear from you all. And I'm really curious in that conversation what other institutions, how they've sort of organized, if they're using them, and how they've organized any DESE Dewey grants. So here's what we're doing. You know, we started last year. Last year was the first year. This is the second year. And it sounds like we're going to get a third year and continuous funding for it. So what we've done is tried as much as possible just to pass that money on to students through scholarships. And so each student gets I don't know the exact amount, but a couple $1,000s for the year in scholarships. And then we also pair them with 2 mentors. So one is a faculty mentor. So I'm one, Dr. Gordon's one. I know Dr. Taylor's one. I'm not sure if there's I think there's a couple other Northwest faculty here, kind of lost track of who all is doing it. But they're paired with us for the year and beyond. And then also they get paired with one of our partner school districts in Maryville, Missouri, which is where we're at, and also one just down the road, our Savannah Public School District. And they're paired with a teacher in their content area at one of those schools as well. And the idea, it's meant to be organic, formal. So those candidates are meeting with and discussing. I don't know, we just kind of is on a regular basis, and we keep a log of our record. And the goal is that through that mentorship, that they're going to these students who are in a higher demographic, less likely to be retained, that we're going to be able to make them feel like teachers, make them feel welcome in the teacher community. And so that's kind of how we've divvied that up. And then the other thing we do for them, so those are more informal, but then we also have a once a month, it doesn't feel like a class, but there's this once a month meeting. And sometimes we have pizza and stuff for that meeting. We all get together and have some kind of conversation relevant that the students want to talk about. So on the very first one, we did a survey and we said, what are some topics that you want to learn more about? And we tried to query the students and get a sense of what kinds of issues they're concerned about. So we've got one coming up on Thursday. We're all meeting Thursday at 5 p.m. and we meet just in a classroom. And we've invited, we have a special guest speaker, a lawyer who specializes in education law. And he's going to come talk to us. He or she, actually, I'm not sure now. He or she is going to come talk to us about law stuff. So I'm really excited about that. That's not something that I know. I don't know school of law nearly as well as some others do. And that's kind of, yeah, that's what we're doing with it in the, the 3-4 minute version of it. So Dan, I think at this point we want to kind of ask, maybe we were hoping that about half of this time would be a little bit more conversational and kind of get a sense of what other people are doing in terms of how are you doing in terms of recruitment and retention. Like what are you doing and what's successful, what works? Is that kind of where we're going next, Dan? Is that the idea?
Yes, let me stop share here and
Each other.
yes, thank you, Joseph. Really what we wanted to do, and maybe we didn't talk about breakouts. I'm not going to go there, but our goal is to hear what you all are doing, and maybe we can borrow something that we can build upon moving forward. Again, we were not trying to, like I said, toot our own horns about what we do, and probably everybody has versions of the same thing. So our goal was for us to talk a while and then open it up. So I guess what we would like to hear would be, would anybody want to share something a little different than what we talked about, something that you do for that at your school to help students decide to choose your college or university? And I'm going to have to be a little attentive here with this many people because they're not all on one screen. So I'll be looking back and forth. If somebody wants to share, I want to be quiet and listen.
This is Mike McBride, and I was just going to actually ask a question of everybody who's still on. My question is, who else is a recipient of the Grow Your Own grant, and how have you implemented? So I feel like that's been pretty widespread.
The Dewey grants that I was talking about is I don't know what that stands for yet, but is anyone else using those towards recruitment and retention?
Yes, we are at Coty College, have got Dewey grant this year. Earlier we got a grant from DESE, and we were using it for doing the same things that you are doing. We were inviting local school students to come and visit our classes, meet with the admissions office, look at the financial aid options. So yeah.
So you're using it to bring high school students to your campus then, like to help support and fund those visits?
Yes.
Okay. That's a little different than what we're doing then, because our funding all goes to students who are already enrolled.
Oh, okay. So yeah, sorry.
But I like that idea. I mean, I think that because I know we have a lot of, we're a rural school in a rural area, and it is hard to get to our campus. So I really like that idea of how can we, if we could help our high
Yes.
school make those visits would help.
Yeah, that has been very helpful, and we have been able to enroll quite a few students. I do not have the exact numbers, but we also provide them transports, and we also invite parents if they want to come to our campus. So the one day we devote fully for these activities. We have like a classroom that we conduct. Like last year, we conducted a class on assessments in education, and there were these students sitting, and we involved them. We kind of showed them what kind of student engagement activities we do. And then we invited people from financial aid and admissions office to answer their questions, also to look at the options they have. Yeah, so pretty much, and then they of course got a tour of our department, our lab, at the whole college, and that event was quite successful. And we invited students from 8 high schools, our local schools, where typically our student teachers student teach. But this year we are planning to expand it to other schools as well, and trying to reach out to them so that their students can come and visit our campus.
Lovely, thank you.
I was going to share what we did. I'm from Washington University, and our program is a little bit different. We don't have a college of education. We have a Department of Education in Arts and Sciences. So most of our students declare the education major in their sophomore year. So when we got the grant money last year, or a couple of years ago from DESE, I hired some student ambassadors, some undergrad students and some graduate students, some of whom went out to local high schools to recruit, and then others who stayed on campus and recruited from our primarily our STEM majors. And so what we found was that most students who were coming to WashU found us through our website. And so our two opportunities were to try to focus on students who are already majoring in a content area and encourage them to also declare education as a major. And then the other was to enhance our website and our promotional marketing materials to let people know that WashU does have a teacher education program. And so toward the end of the grant funding, like last spring, we decided to do a photo shoot with our students who were graduating, and we're using those materials to prepare better marketing information to go out to students, professional brochures and that type of thing. And we did not apply for the Dewey grant, but our department is continuing to hire 2 student ambassadors to continue the work that we started last year. So we did see, I saw lots of increase in the number of students that I'm advising, especially now first years who are interested in pursuing education. So that's what we've done.
Lovely, thank you. Maybe just kind of going back to another question. So there was some talk in the chat a little bit about, does anyone else meet with prospective students in their office, or does anyone else help with the admissions process when students come to visit campus and help with doing tours? I just wondered if anyone else has any role in admissions like that, like we were describing that we do here.
We are trying to do that. We reached out to the admissions office last spring, but we were too late to really get involved. So I would appreciate any insights that you might have to share in terms of how you connected with admissions and became part of that process.
I have to confess, I don't know. We've been doing that since I've been here 10 years, and we've always been doing that. And I sense it was actually admissions that reaches out to us because they organize it all, and they're the ones who reach out to us and say, we've got students coming, can you see them at this date and time? And then we have one in our department, there's one person who's in charge of sort of our assistant in our department, it's our assistant chair, and she sort of divvies them up in our English department, and she divvies up all the English students, and I get me and the English ed coordinator get all the ed ones, and then the other English students go elsewhere. But yeah,
So-
I'm not sure. Does anyone know?
Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense to me because our students don't really come to WashU to study education. So very few would declare an interest in education. They come to WashU to be doctors and lawyers. So we don't get them then until their junior year. So maybe that's where the barrier is for us, is we need to kind of think of ways to encourage students to think about education earlier on.
That makes sense. I think a lot of we sort of market ourselves as a school of education, a school of and agriculture. Those are our two biggest departments.
Well, we mentioned earlier, one thing that helps us as a professor, our office manager we are encouraged to pick 16 dates a semester. And then you get those dates to our GAs in the office, the student workers in the office. And then they plug them in. We get calendar invites that just say prospective student tentative. And then I just got an email just yesterday about one of my tentatives for Friday turned into a confirmed. And they have the information about the student that will be there. And then they will give me, office folks will give me a green binder or folder with programs of study and information, that kind of stuff, to help me with the conversation. And that's not particularly rocket science, but it works for us. It really helps me as I'm having conversations. Somebody else want to share?
I'll just so in the chat, I'll just point to the chat, which I see there are a couple of messages. So East Central College, Gregory tells us, is using I think the DESI or the Dewey money. I think that's what he means. For scholarships entering into historically low content areas, so middle school math and science. And then Christy writes at NBU, we have a Spartan preview days where all high school students attend. It's run by the admissions office, but we are there, we as faculty from the College of Ed, to meet and greet. Gregory adds, when possible, we establish a stop on the tour, but I like the idea of a faculty member being a more significant part of the tour. Teresa writes, we have a student leadership ambassador program. And then a big one popped up. And I lost my spot there. We request faculty meetings for prospective students. So similar from Teresa. Just kind of, and then John wrote as a question, what seems to be one of the great taboos of our profession, does anyone else talk to prospective students about what other career options are open to people with a teaching degree? Virtually every other major talks about all the things you can do with their degree, and we do that in English, you're right, but we in education don't. It seems no one wants to suggest that education majors do something other than some sort of a trail, but teaching provides a lot of transferable skills that are valued in many other fields. I've been thinking about encouraging this conversation, but I imagine I'd meet with a lot of resistance, not least from our partner districts. Has anyone else considered having frank discussions about this topic? I think I'll just, so as an English, so I tend to talk to more, when I do have somebody who switches out of education, I talk to them about an English major and the things that you can do with those transferable skills. And I talk about all the things our non-ed English majors are doing. So I feel like maybe I'm not the right person to answer that, because does anyone ever, we started that's a different question. Anyone have, this is a tough one, because I kind of agree with what John says. I don't want to discourage anyone from being a teacher. But yes, sometimes we do get a candidate who you need to that we kind of realized that might not be the right fit? Yeah, that's a tough question. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I do something on the other end where I encourage students to think about having a second major in education because of the transferable skills. If their first choice doesn't work out, they don't get into med school, they don't get into law school, they can leave with a teaching degree and have some skills that can be used either through teaching or in the industry, in the business world. I think all employers value anyone who has a degree in teaching because they know they have a skill set that's very useful to their business.
Thank you for that. I think Teresa, did you have your?
Yeah, hi, thank you, Joseph. I apologize. So I'm from Mizzou's College of Education and Human Development. And for those who may not have known, our Human Development and Family Science Department joined our college in summer of 2021. And so we now have 3 different degree pathways. Obviously, our teacher education program being the most prominently known one, right? And then our Human Development and Family Science emphasis areas, there are 3. And then another degree pathway in education, but non-certification. And so we now have this opportunity for those who, are interested in education, but realize maybe not in the classroom and not teaching certification, to look into these other areas that can serve in the roles of education and working with youth and youth development and and families, and not necessarily lead to teaching certification. So that has helped us a great deal. To Michelle's point, we've actually had, other students who are interested in education, but have used that experience and gone into engineering and engineering industry places or business because they have the experience of instructing, right? Because these entities need trainers, and they have found that our students who've gone through our program, but maybe not teaching certification in pre-K-12, really effective as trainers and instructors in their own businesses and organizations and corporations. So that's kind of been our, if you don't want to be in the classroom, here are other possibilities and industries to consider with that teaching experience. And we now offer also a minor in education for that reason, to acquire others and other majors and colleges to consider that minor to support them in another pathway.
Thank you. Any other? I see one more person. I'm not sure. One more person just mentioned, and I'm not sure which institution this is, offering their evening program education courses virtually and using Dewey money to help with students with internet connectivity problems, providing laptop, webcam, etc.
That was me. That's with Columbia College.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. I forgot to put that.
That's okay. So I mean, yeah, Missouri has several of us who have a lot of rural students.
Well, and we have campuses throughout the state too, and some of those are in more rural areas than even some of our, like northern Boone County, where internet is a challenge and things like that. So we were wanting to provide both the technology, the hardware, and help them with help pay for good internet connectivity.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm in a book club right now, and we're reading a book about critical rural education, and it's somewhere on my desk here. And yeah, those are thoughts that I've been thinking a lot about recently, is the difference of critical rural pedagogy by Sharon Mitchler, who's our book club selection for another group I'm in. So, and I think, yeah, one of the questions there is how our rural students, even trying to define what rural means, was actually a more difficult problem that she addresses, and then how we serve those students best.
as we had our presentation, am I assuming that other than the lab school, we know that that's unique to Northwest, but I kind of assumed that we were not talking about anything that was cutting edge. It's just kind of what we do. Does anybody have any, because we just have, 5 more minutes. Something that you all do to encourage a high school kid to choose your school that we've not mentioned yet. I'll have some wait time.
I don't have anything extra to offer, but I want to say that I thought that this was really good. I really appreciated being able to attend this session and hear what Northwest is doing. And I think that we're all really struggling to find ways to recruit and retain high quality teachers, individuals who can pre-service, people that can become teachers. And it's a real challenge. So for me, this was very valuable. I appreciate hearing the great things that, you guys are doing. You may not think so. You may, like you said, you're not trying to say you're, doing greater than anyone else, but it's so nice to have you share. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we are all in the same boat. We know
Yes,
that
we are.
we know we need great teachers. We know that for good or bad, there are some bars being lowered to get into education and to be a substitute teacher and so on, just as a matter of pragmatics. And so I tell my undergrad kids that we no longer talk about education being, we don't talk about education being a fallback, because it's so hard so rigorous to become a teacher in the state of Missouri, that, most people that we talk to are pretty sure they want to be in education. It is occasional that we have someone get to the student teaching level and you find out they don't want to be there. I've had that conversation with the kid. And then we back up and find another path for them, because that's rather traumatic when they're at the student teaching level. Cindy, I am correct that our time ends at 11:45.
Let's see, I'm supposed to send you a private reminder to wrap up the chat.
Okay.
And at 50 minutes past the hour, send all participants a chat message that the session is ending.
At
So-
5-0. Okay.
I
Well,
guess
but
we
I
have
know-
time for a few more questions.
I'd say barring any more questions, we'll start to wind down, but we have more time.
Well,
I have a question.
good.
There's a great need for more science and math and technology teachers. Is anyone doing anything that they find is being find successful in recruiting those individuals that attend their school to become science, math, or technology teachers? Because for myself, I find in the at this historical Black institution that we do not have enough individuals graduating with certification in science or math to go back into the community to teach our children. You understand what I'm saying? And so is anyone doing anything that they believe is innovative, or that they have been successful with achieving an increase in math and science teachers?
Odessa, one thing that I will mention, and this is not rocket science, I do work with the alternative certification program. And it is where basically non-traditional adults can go through a process working through us and DESE to take online classes to gain teacher certification. Not another degree, at least with us, not another degree, not a master's degree, just the 6 to 8 courses that DESE says that they have to have, and then they take coursework for 2 years and teach for 2 years. And if they teach for 2 years, DESE says they do not have to student teach. So that is one way that we have a direct relationship with. A lot of the smaller school districts do that, but not exclusively. But it is a way that we do get teachers, we get business teachers, PE teachers, well, all across the board. And generally they're coming in from as a second career. And it's a pathway that we use. And I'd be happy to communicate sidebar sometime with Odessa about that if you want to learn more about that.
I would love to. So you're saying that are there courses taken online? So you offer the courses online?
99% of them are online. The DESE will say that they have to have a content-specific methods course, which gets kind of awkward. It's a little harder to teach PE methods online, although our colleagues are working on it. And and some departments are a little further down the road with that. So I'll facilitate 15 or 20 people a year in that through that program. And it is a way to get non-traditional people into the teaching field.
I'll reach out. Thank you.
Okay, sure. My contact information is at the top of the slide.
Okay.
At the top of this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for participating with us. Thank you, presenters, for doing such a wonderful job. I would like to remind you to fill out the conference feedback form. The link can be found at the bottom of the agenda with links that you use to connect to each session. And we look forward to seeing you all next spring in person. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I'll be the last hit end.
There might be a couple of people who stepped out too, and
yeah,
I don't know. Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, you guys did great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Super
you.
proud to be your colleague.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll hit end and I'll turn this into a YouTube link.
Sounds good.